NASCAR might be heading to Dodger Stadium as soon as 2025.
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for? Me?
Can they not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, he's going! Way to go, boys!
One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is going to be an eventful show. I can feel it. Welcome on in on a March 7th, 2024. I'm Alan Bailey. This is Shifting Gears. Oh boy, we have a lot to talk about. Yes, NASCAR might be racing at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles as soon as next year. Yeah, crazy. But before we get into it, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss an episode. And of course, you can log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. So much interesting speculation to get into. Gonna go ahead and start with this one. Goodyear is holding a tire test at North Wilkesboro in order to get ready for the truck race and the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star race that's going to be happening in May out there, which is absolutely pointless. Let me talk about this. Not the Goodyear tire test, that's very necessary because, yes, Joey Logano in the 22, Ty Gibbs in the 54, and William Byron are going to be at that tire test, one from each of the manufacturers respectfully. So is the 99 truck, the 11, and the 19. And that's all great. Get the tires ready for that new surface out there. Brilliant, smart, do it. However, that needs to be a points-paying race. It is absolutely stupid that the All-Star race still exists in 2024. Every freaking week in NASCAR is an All-Star race. The point of an All-Star game or event in every other form of sports is to get together the All-Stars from all the teams and put them into one game. What is that except every other week in NASCAR? They're all there every single week. It is stupid. It is pointless. NASCAR is paying for a very stupid event because, frankly, North Wilkesboro deserves a points-paying event, and so do the fans in that area. And at this point, get rid of the All-Star race and make it a points-paying event. Fight me in the comments. I dare ya. This one legitimately triggered me and gave me, flashbacks in a bad way. Noah Gragson is going to have Service Pro on the number 10 car this weekend out in Phoenix. Here's a look at that car. Tell me this doesn't give you Danica vibes. I was the Chihuahua in Vietnam meme. I was like, oh god, she's back. And seeing her on Drive to Survive already triggered me enough, and how pointless was Danica on that series. So congratulations to Noah for continuing to put together sponsorship over at Stewart-Haas Racing, because they don't have a single sponsor for the season, not really, and they've only had minor commitments for a couple of races here and there from some big sponsors, so it is going to be kind of a week-by-week basis, and right now Noah is by far the best-looking driver over at Stewart-Haas, and he's the one who barely has any sponsors. So if you're a multi-million-dollar sponsor looking to get into NASCAR, I take a look at this Noah Gragson kid because he just had one of the better runs he's had in the Cup Series last week out in Las Vegas, and I don't think he's done yet this season. Alright, the reason you clicked on this video, and I know it's not for the hot takes that are coming up later, but this, NASCAR might be heading to Dodger Stadium. They've run the last 3 years at the LA Coliseum, and for the non-sports fans, that is a football stadium. Dodger Stadium is a baseball stadium. And I worked for the Los Angeles Angels for 10 years, so I know what other events coming in and using facilities looks like. I will tell you this, yes, this is 110% possible, and I am all in for it. This could be amazing, sincerely. And I know a lot of people are running numbers figuring out how can this physically be done. Let's break this down from a number standpoint. What kind of racetrack can fit inside of Dodger Stadium? Looking at it, the LA Coliseum, the distance between turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, meaning how long are the front stretch and back stretch essentially at the LA Coliseum. They are roughly 600 feet, more precisely 594 feet. The space between the front stretch and the back stretch, meaning the width of it more or less, is in the neighborhood of 250 feet. Pretty tight racetrack for a quarter mile, but it fits barely, but it fits. Dodger Stadium, however, is not a football stadium. It is significantly tighter. So realistically, what are the dimensions here? Looking from the home plate wall to the center field wall, meaning the entire length of the stadium, top to bottom, we're looking at about 450 feet, give or take. Then the third base wall to the first base wall, we're looking at about 440 feet. So significantly smaller dimensions to work for NASCAR. Obviously, this is going to be a quarter-mile racetrack of some kind, but realistically, can this be done, and has it been done? And yes, people on the internet, including Slapshoes, has pointed out that yes, this has been done before. It happened in Nashville back in '65 at a facility that was similar dimensions to this, and it happened at McCormick Speedway in North Carolina in the 1950s per slap. So this can be done. It really can. People are making Dodge Raceway Stadium jokes, and Dodge Raceway Stadium from the old NASCAR games could not fit inside Dodger Stadium. I think instead, we're looking at a triangle. And I know for a fact NASCAR is working with iRacing and with the people at Dodger Stadium in order to get the dimensions right, in order to figure out what is the best racing product that can be put on in Dodger Stadium. And from what I'm hearing, they are considering a triangle. I am all in, and I am down for this, because you look at the old NASCAR games, there were triangle type racetracks that were smaller that put on some pretty damn good racing. And I do think that once iRacing and NASCAR work together, figure out the banking, the transitions, the exact dimensions of this, we could get one hell of a little racetrack inside Dodger Stadium. Plus, I'm going to be very blunt here. Non-sports people stood up and paid attention in the Los Angeles area when NASCAR went to the Coliseum the first year. There was a significant amount of new fans that went to the stadium and enjoyed going to that stadium. And there was a lot of non-sports people here in the Los Angeles area that were coming up to me asking questions about this event and wanted to go to this event. And yes, first year it sold out. Wonderful. Great event. The next year, the hype died down a little bit, and the third year it wasn't there, and we know how it went this last year. But I do think that going to Dodger Stadium is going to be phenomenal for the sport, sincerely, because Dodger Stadium is one of the best stadiums in the entire country as far as location, as far as being iconic and historic, and the views. I sincerely can't wait for sunset at this event. I can't. Now, there are rumors that it could be ready for 2025. I'm hearing it's probably not going to happen until 2026. We're looking at maybe a one-year extension for the Coliseum, but NASCAR officials have said they're trying to move away from the Coliseum because they feel like that venue has kind of lost its luster over the course of the last couple of years. The first year it was great, but not that great the last couple of years. And it was just the hype around it. The hype definitely wasn't there, and the rain had nothing to do with it. It's just that I think fans saw it and they were like, okay, we saw this already. We want something new. And maybe that's NASCAR putting on events in a different venue in the Los Angeles market every single year. And I'll tell you from experience, Angel Stadium could host this. Definitely Dodger Stadium could, but I don't think we're going to see like the Crypto.com arena or anything like that, the Kia Forum, anything like that, hosting these events unless they go outside and use the parking lot. And even then, let's not do that. So I'm excited for the possibility of NASCAR going to Dodger Stadium, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Speaking of the comments down below, it's time for my favorite part of the show, where we get to your hot takes, and we got some spicy ones. You guys have been working overtime for some really good ones here, so let's go ahead and start with this one. Here's a thought. Don't build a freaking GT3 car for oval racing. That's so damn stiff, you can't drive it with a flat tire. If this is progress is a freaking joke. I, for one, like the older cars where you could actually, drive the freaking thing back to the pits and get repairs. So spicy. Sincerely, this might be the comment of the year. This might be hot take of the year material right here. Sincerely, thank you, Florida Man Racer. This is delightful. I'm being serious because, yes, this is what the entire point of hot takes is. More swearing, more passionate, the better. Bring it. Sincerely, leave it in the comments. But yeah, I get it. The current chassis in the Cup Series does resemble a GT3 car a little bit. It's not exactly a one-to-one, but it's pretty close. I get what NASCAR was trying to do with this. I really do with this car. But at the same time, I think that everything in the underbody, I think that how low this thing is to the ground prevents it from being able to be driven back to the pits for repairs. I do think that the Gen 4 was the best era of NASCAR racing in hindsight. We had high horsepower. That thing was loose. It was crazy, crazy cool to watch those cars race. But It wasn't necessarily the safest thing, and it definitely wasn't the cheapest thing. And not to say that the current NASCAR stock car model is cheaper, but in the long run, it is going to save teams a lot of money. And I think that we're starting to see a little bit of that savings, but this is a 3-4 year project to really save that money. And NASCAR's obviously still tweaking it. There's no such thing as a perfect race car. There's always room for improvement. But at the same time, I get your point. I know you're afraid to say it, politically correct, but Deegan is a bust. I don't care who gives her money. Ford is already wasted enough on her. I highly disagree. And let me tell you, there's no such thing as political correctness. There's just correctness and incorrectness. It's not the fact that she's a woman or anything like that. I'll say this, the thing with Ford, in particular Ford's big on this for some reason, and it tends to be an issue in NASCAR in the lower series, in the Xfinity and Truck Series. You have to bring your own money. There's no such thing as a free ride anymore. I mean, you look at Hailie Deegan, she's somebody through her entire NASCAR truck and Xfinity career has had to go out there and look for her own sponsors to fund her own race program. That is ridiculous. She, as a young driver, should only be focusing on racing on track, getting better on track, focusing on her craft, and actually becoming a better driver. And I do think she's doing that. However, she has the distraction of going out there and being a businesswoman and a saleswoman and going out there and finding these sponsors for one-off races in the Truck Series or one-off races in the Xfinity Series. Yes, there is the added benefit in the Xfinity Series in 2024 for her for having a couple of big-name sponsors that have signed up for multiple races for multiple years. That takes the pressure off of her and allows her to actually focus on racing the car. However, she still needs to go out there and find a little bit of sponsor money. Same with Frankie Muniz. Same with a lot of the drivers in the Xfinity and Truck Series. And that's not okay. These drivers need to focus on driving and not going out there and finding money. Joey Logano said as much on SiriusXM this week.
I get paid to drive a cup car. That's great. I have to pay to drive a Xfinity car or a truck. I have to show up with money on the doorstep to drive one. Now, a cup car, boom, I can get in and I get paid well and it's a great living and things work out. But if I want to go down a series or two, I have to pay a significant amount of money to get in a car to drive. I just think that is the craziest thing to think about. And unfortunately, that's where our sport is, and that's why it's so hard for kids to make it these days. If a NASCAR champion, a two-time NASCAR champion, can't drive an Xfinity car for free, you'd never get paid. For that has to pay to drive one. How do you expect a kid that's got no experience to come up with the money from a sponsor to pay to go do something like that? I mean, that's just, I hate that.
If a two-time NASCAR champ can't be given the keys essentially to a vehicle to go race in the Xfinity or Truck Series, who the hell can? If I'm a team owner in the Xfinity or Truck Series and I'm looking to improve my program, get some notes, maybe calling a two-time NASCAR champ and Daytona 500 champ to drive one of my cars to give me notes on what I can do to make my vehicle better might be a good decision. But the fact that you're charging him to race your car is a little ridiculous. I get it, but it's the business model. It's a day and age of where NASCAR is right now. It's expensive to take these cars out to the racetrack. Why do people still watch NASCAR in 2024? I have not followed NASCAR since they started the dome playoff system. Ha ha ha. That was over 20 years ago. But you're watching this show, which is a NASCAR show. So thanks for watching. The radio broadcasts, PRN, MRN, have turn announcers. You can't follow all of a 1.5 mile racetrack with 2 or 3 announcers. The TV announcers have to use monitors to follow the entire race. I get your point, but you're dead wrong. As somebody who works in the radio and TV broadcasting industry, I'm telling you, you're wrong. In TV and radio for that matter, yes, in radio's case, you do have turn announcers who are looking out for things, but they are communicating through their headset back to a control room with producers who are trying to keep track of everything happening on the racetrack. And you're right, PRN and MRN, respectfully, do a phenomenal job at this. They really do. However, TV, particularly the Fox broadcast, have significantly dropped the ball over the last couple of years because, yes, while you do have multiple announcers in the booth, they have been told and taught to call the racing on the monitor, and that results in delayed reactions to what's happening on the racetrack, them missing things more often than not, and just flat out not talking about things like we saw this last weekend at Las Vegas when Bubba Wallace's lug nut issues went completely unreported by the Fox broadcast. In TV broadcast, what should be happening is they should have producers who are essentially looking at these turns specifically. How it was done back in the day is somebody in the TV truck was looking at live feeds from all of these monitors looking for things. Heck, even cameramen and women actually had spotters with them in some cases, referring to them, telling them, hey, look at turn this, look at turn this, look at this number, look at there. These producers were cut back to the point where they're not there anymore. And because of that, Fox and NBC, to some extent, is missing things on the racetrack left and right. That's not okay. It's inevitably Fox cutting corners, which makes absolutely no sense because they are charging more for commercials than they ever have before. They're slamming more commercials into the broadcast than they ever have before, and they're making more money than they ever have before on NASCAR broadcasts. They have the money. They are simply choosing to cut the personnel on these broadcasts in order to profit more off of NASCAR. You need to actually work on the quality of your broadcast, Fox. I put out a massive video about a week ago, about it, and they need to actually listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. You don't believe me? There's one of my awards right there. I have many more listed on my website. And yeah, I donated the rest of my trophies to my alma mater. Sorry, not sorry. But I want to hear what you have to say. You can go ahead and leave your hot takes for anything in the NASCAR or racing world in the comments down below. We will read them on every episode. Make sure that you also mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video throughout the entire 2024 season. And of course, you can always log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Before we get out of here, I want to briefly talk about one more thing that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care. I simply want to do the right thing here. I want to publicly come out against Red Bull because what they are doing to the female employee who came out against Christian Horner is not okay. If you're unaware, there was a female employee over at Red Bull who came out and said that there was inappropriate behavior, let's just say, from Christian Horner. But after a lengthy investigation by Red Bull, turns out Christian Horner supposedly did nothing wrong. But instead, Red Bull today actually laid off their female employee or put her on paid leave. That's not okay. If you're creating an environment that makes it unsafe and unwelcoming for victims of sexual assault or anything of that nature to come forward, you're in the wrong. You need to create an environment that allows victims to come forward and speak publicly. And I know people in the comments are going to slam me for siding with a woman. And you know what? If that's the case, you're going to get blocked because I'm not okay with any victims being silenced in any form, whether they're male, female, women, I don't care. Doesn't matter. And the fact that this woman, unfortunately, is being silenced is not okay. We don't know all the details because Red Bull is telling us that nothing happened, but Red Bull, as we all know, isn't necessarily the pillar of truth. So, no, I'm not going to be buying a Red Bull anytime soon. No, I'm not going to be watching an F1 race anytime soon because I don't really care to watch Max Verstappen win every single damn race for the fourth year in a row at this point. I'm not paying attention to F1. Sorry, not sorry. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know you will. So for Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.